I had servants that could hear me as I hollered a half mile down to the Staunton River, but those days might be gone. It's a pleasure indeed to invite you and to welcome you all to Red Hill as we celebrate our independence. And as was mentioned earlier, at about 8:30 or 8:45, we will be reading the Declaration of Independence as it was read on July 4th of 1776 in our capital city of Williamsburg, as we declared our independence publicly from Great Britain. I would also like to take this opportunity right now, as we talk about freedom, as we talk about independence. If you have ever served in the great military of these United States of America, if you have ever served, or if you are currently serving, I ask that you please stand so that we may show our appreciation to each and every one of you. Some people have accused me in recent years of becoming a Federalist. Let me set the record straight. I never have been a Federalist, and I never will become a Federalist. I am all about states' rights. I do understand, though, that we are governed under a Constitution, which I initially did not agree with, because it gave the federal government too much power, in my estimation. If you recall your history, Virginia ratified the Constitution only at my insistence that a Bill of Rights be added. And in an unusual move, the politicians did keep their word, and a Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution to make it a little bit more tolerable for us. That being said, there may be times in our future where there are people who want to take away our freedoms. I urge you to stand courageous. Remain vigilant. Be active. Be aware of what is going on around you. The success of these United States does not depend on people like me. They do not depend on people in our state capitals or even in our national capital. The success of these United States depends on individuals like you. Once again, remain vigilant. Stay active. Be brave and courageous as you stand for those freedoms which have been given to us. Vigilant, active, and brave. That was a phrase that was uttered on March 23rd of 1775 when I spoke in Richmond in defense of some resolutions which I had issued, which called for the colony of Virginia to be put into a ready state of defense against Great Britain. I urged the delegates that the battle was not to the strong alone, but to the vigilant, to the active, to the brave. And I challenge you the same way today. March 23rd of 1775, that was a long time ago. Let's see if I can remember how that day went. Hayton Randolph was presiding over the Second Virginia Convention. We were crammed into the tiny church, St. John's Church, St. Enrico Parish in Richmond. We had gone to Richmond because that was the largest city that we could find, although it is only a small shipping village. It was the largest place that we could find where we could be away from Governor Dunmore and speak freely as 120 delegates of the colony of Virginia. We crammed into that tiny church, and it was cold outside, but it was stifling hot inside. As a matter of fact, we had the windows and the doors open, but it was still hot because no air was circulating. The windows and the doors and the aisleways were plugged with people, spectators from that village of Richmond, who had come to see what their delegates were going to do. And I issued the resolutions which would call, as I mentioned, for us to be at a ready state of defense, and that a militia be formed, not of redcoats, but of colonists, born and raised in the colony of Virginia, farmers, regular ordinary men, who would take up their guns, who had previously only shot at game to feed their families. Now they were going to be asked to defend their colony. I addressed Mr. Peyton Randolph. Mr. President, no man thinks more highly than I do of the patriotism as well as the abilities of the very worthy gentlemen that have just addressed this House. But different men often see the same subject in different light, and therefore I hope it will not be thought of as disrespectful to these gentlemen if, entertaining as I do opinions of a character very opposite to theirs, I shall speak forth my sentiments freely and without reserve. This is no time for ceremony. The question before this House is one of awful moment to this country. For my own part, I consider it as nothing less than a question of freedom or slavery, and in proportion to the magnitude of the subject ought be the freedom of the debate. It is only in this way we can hope to arrive at the truth and fulfill the great responsibility which we hold to God and our country. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time for fear of giving offense, I should consider myself as guilty of treason towards my country and of an act of disloyalty toward the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all earthly kings. Now, Mr. President, it is natural for man to indulge the illusion of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes to painful truths and listen to the song of the siren until she transforms us into beasts. But is this the part of wise men, engaged in a great and arduous struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be among the number of those who, having eyes, see not, or having ears, hear not the things which so nearly concern our temporal salvation? For my own part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth. I am willing to know the worst and to provide for it. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know of no other way of judging the future but by the past. And judging by the past, I wish to know what there has been in the conduct of the British ministry for these last 10 years, which justifies the hopes with which these gentlemen have been pleased to solace themselves and this House. Is it that insidious smile with which our petition has been lately received? Trust it not, sir. It shall prove to be a snare to your feet. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed by a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception of our petition comports with the warlike preparations which cover our waters and darken our land. Tell me, are fleets and armies necessary to a work of love and reconciliation? Tell me, have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called in to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves. These are implements of war and subjugation, the last arguments to which a king resorts. Now I ask, gentlemen, sir, what means this martial array if its purpose be not to force us into submission? Can gentlemen assign any other possible motive for it? Has Great Britain any enemy in this quarter of the world to call for all this accumulation of navies and armies? No, sir. She has has none. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no other. They are sent over to bind and to rivet upon us those chains which the British ministry have been for so long forging. And what have we to oppose them? Shall we try argument? Sir, we have been trying that for the last 10 years. Have we anything new to offer on that subject? Nothing. We have held this subject up in every light of which it is capable.